Picture the year 1914. It feels like the dawn of a new age. There are brand new things called automobiles sharing cobblestone streets with horse-drawn carriages. The first silent movies are captivating audiences. Art and culture are exploding across Europe. It genuinely felt like humanity was reaching its peak. A golden era of progress and civilization. Nobody could imagine that this glittering world was standing on a trapdoor, and that in just a few weeks, a single gunshot would send the entire continent, and then the world, plunging into one of the most brutal conflicts in human history. How did it all go so wrong so fast? Well, the story is more incredible than you might think. To really understand what happened, we need to see that Europe in 1914 wasn't as peaceful as it looked. It was more like a neighborhood full of proud, heavily armed rivals just waiting for an excuse. Right in the middle, you had the relatively new and incredibly ambitious German Empire. Germany felt it deserved more respect, more colonies, a place in the sun, as their leader, Kaiser Wilhelm Pier, put it. To get that, they started building a massive navy, filled with powerful new battleships called dreadnoughts. This made the British, who had ruled the waves for centuries, incredibly nervous. It sparked a full-blown naval arms race, with both sides trying to outbuild each other. Next door, you had France. France was still bitter about a war they'd lost to Germany a few decades earlier, and they desperately wanted back a piece of territory called Alsace-Lorraine that Germany had taken. It was a matter of national pride. And then you had the two aging giants, the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire. They were sprawling, multi-ethnic empires, and frankly, they were starting to fall apart. All the different ethnic groups living inside them, Serbs, Croats, Bosnians, Czechs, and more, were getting tired of being ruled by someone else. They wanted their own countries, their own independence. This whole volatile region, known as the Balkans, was nicknamed the powder keg of Europe for a good reason. Everyone knew it was just waiting for a spark. And that spark came on a sunny day, June 28, 1914, in the city of Sarajevo. The heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, was visiting the city with his wife, Sophie. Now, this was a risky move. Sarajevo was in a region Austria-Hungary had recently taken over, and many of the local Serbs and Bosnians were furious about it. To make matters worse, the Archduke's route was published in the newspaper ahead of time. It was practically an invitation for trouble. A group of young assassins armed with bombs and pistols lined the route. The first assassin got his chance as the motorcade passed. He threw his bomb, but it bounced off the Archduke's car and exploded under the car behind it, injuring several officers. The would-be assassin tried to get away but was captured. You'd think after that, the Archduke would have called it a day and gotten out of town as fast as possible. If he had, history might be completely different, but he was stubborn. After a tense reception at the town hall, he insisted on going to the hospital to visit the officers who were injured by the bomb. And here is the moment, the unbelievable twist of fate that truly changed the world. You might have seen videos asking how a wrong turn started World War I, and this is exactly what they're talking about. The driver of the Archduke's car wasn't told about the change of plans. He took a wrong turn, and when an official shouted at him to stop and turn around, the car stalled. It stalled right in front of a cafe where another one of the assassins, a young man named Gavrilo Princip, was standing, having given up all hope for the day. He couldn't believe his luck. He walked up to the stationary car, pulled out his pistol, and fired. Franz Ferdinand and his wife were killed. The powder keg had been lit. Austria-Hungary was, to put it mildly, furious. They blamed Serbia for backing the assassins, and there's evidence they weren't entirely wrong. They wanted to crush Serbia for good, but first, they checked in with their powerful friend, Germany. They asked, hey, if we go to war with Serbia, will you have our back? Germany gave them what's now called the blank check, basically saying, do whatever you want, we're with you 100%. Emboldened, Austria-Hungary sent Serbia a list of 10 impossible demands designed to be rejected. Serbia, surprisingly, agreed to almost all of them, but it wasn't enough. On July 28, 1914, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and this is where the dominoes started to fall fast. Serbia had a big, powerful friend of its own, Russia. Russia saw itself as the protector of all Slavic peoples, including the Serbs. So when Austria-Hungary attacked, Russia started mobilizing its massive army. Germany saw this and told Russia to stop. Russia refused. So Germany declared war on Russia. Now, Germany knew that Russia was allied with France. They had a plan for this, a famous and incredibly risky one called the Schlieffen Plan. The idea was that since Russia was so huge and would take a long time to get its army ready, Germany could throw almost all of its forces at France first, knock them out of the war in 6 weeks, and then turn around to deal with Russia. But to attack France quickly, they couldn't just smash through the heavily fortified French-German border. No, their plan was to go around it by invading the neutral country of Belgium. Germany demanded that Belgium let 750,000 of its soldiers just march through their country. Belgium bravely said no. so Germany invaded. This act of invading a tiny neutral country horrified the world, and it was the final straw for Great Britain. Britain had a treaty to protect Belgian neutrality, but it was also deeply worried about Germany becoming too powerful. On August 4, 1914, Britain declared war on Germany. All the great powers of Europe were now at war. It was supposed to be the war to end all wars. In those early days, everyone thought it would be a short, glorious adventure. Soldiers marched off in magnificent, old-fashioned uniforms. The French, for instance, wore bright blue coats and flashy red trousers. This wasn't for camouflage. It was for glory. But they weren't marching into a 19th century battle. They were marching into the cold, mechanical reality of 20th century warfare. Those bright uniforms just made them perfect targets for German machine guns. The old tactics, cavalry charges, bayonet rushes, were useless against the new technology of war. The Germans, despite being slowed by the Belgians, pushed deep into France and got close to Paris. It looked like their plan might actually work, but the French and British armies rallied. In a desperate battle known as the Battle of the Marne, they managed to stop the German advance. The Germans were forced to retreat, and to hold their ground, they did something that would define the next 4 years of the war. They dug trenches. The Allies, unable to break through, dug their own trenches opposite them. Both sides then tried to outflank each other in what became known as the race to the sea. But every time, the other side would just dig more trenches to block them. Soon, an unbroken line of trenches stretched for 475 miles, all the way from the Swiss border to the North Sea. The quick, decisive war everyone expected was over. A new, horrific kind of war had begun. Trench warfare. For the next 4 years, millions of men would live, fight and die in a nightmarish world of mud and blood. They would charge across no man's land, a desolate landscape of craters and barbed wire, only to be cut down by machine guns for the sake of gaining a few hundred yards of shattered earth. This wasn't the glorious adventure they were promised. This was hell on earth, and it had only just begun. The story of how this war unfolded, the new technologies it spawned, and how it dragged in countries from all over the globe is even more intense. If you found this first chapter of the Great War as gripping as I do, make sure you hit that like button. And to catch the next part of the story, be sure to subscribe to the channel. This is US Military Streamline, and we're just getting started. Thanks for watching.